Josefina had never harbored hatred towards her father, a renowned 56-year-old surgeon, until that day when she felt she had no other option. Ben had planned a dinner, inviting the chief physician, his wife, and their son, with the intention of introducing them to Josefina. As a widower, Ben had raised Josefina single-handedly after his wife's untimely demise. He had always strived to provide the best for his daughter, and now sought a suitable match for her, someone from a wealthy background who could offer her a prosperous life. However, Josefina held a different perspective. The last thing she desired was for her father to choose her future spouse. Thus, when Ben informed her of the dinner plans and insisted on her presence, fury consumed her. "Go ahead and pick an extravagant outfit, sweetheart. Derek and his family are coming over tonight, and don't fret about the expenses," he suggested, placing his credit card on the nightstand. "I have plenty of clothes, Dad," Josefina retorted, her gaze fixed on her phone. "Besides, I don't need your money." "I want my daughter to make a great impression tonight," Ben said, smiling. "Imagine the daughter of a renowned surgeon appearing before them looking eccentric." Josefina rolled her eyes, directing her gaze towards her father. "Why are you going to such lengths for someone who isn't even a close associate? Isn't that a bit excessive, Dad?" "Well, it won't be long until we become close, my dear," Ben quipped. "Come on, don't be a party pooper. Isn't that what you kids say nowadays? Let's find you a lovely dress, all right?" he added, patting the credit card gently. However, Josefina neither acquired the dress nor answered the doorbell later that day when Derek and his family arrived at their residence. "Honey, could you please check the door?" Ben called out to her. There was no response. "Josefina?" he called once more. Still, silence prevailed. Eventually, Ben took it upon himself to answer the door, apologizing for the delay to their guests. "I'm afraid she must have missed the doorbell. She'll be here soon. Let me go check on her," he explained, ascending the stairs towards Josefina's room. Ben gently knocked on her door. "Are you ready, my dear?" he whispered. "Everyone has arrived." Again, no reply. Ben turned the doorknob, only to find it locked from the inside. With the guests waiting downstairs, he couldn't even call out to Josefina to unlock the door. He attempted to reach her on her phone, but she did not answer. "What's happening, Josefina? Open the damn door," he messaged her, pacing nervously outside her room. Moments later, his phone chimed with a reply. "I'll be down in 10 minutes, Dad. Please, for the love of God, calm down and stop banging on my door." After a few minutes, Josefina entered the living room, shocking Ben with her appearance. She wore a crop top and ripped, baggy jeans, attire clearly unsuitable for a dinner with strangers. Derek and his family appeared equally taken aback. "Excuse us, everyone. We'll be right back," Ben said, masking his embarrassment as he pulled her aside. "What on earth are you thinking, Josefina? Why are you dressed like that?" he demanded, his anger seeping through. "I can dress however I want, Dad," she retorted. "Stop controlling my life. I know why you invited your so-called friend over. Don't worry, I won't ruin your dinner plans, but I refuse to pretend everything is fine. I despise what you're doing." Throughout the dinner, Ben persisted in pushing Derek and Josefina together, touting them as a perfect match. Yet Josefina grew tired of the forced conversation and feigning normalcy. She abruptly stood up as the meal neared its end and declared she had other plans. Never had Ben felt such humiliation. His daughter had walked away without even bidding farewell to their guests. Ben couldn't sleep that night until Josefina finally returned home. "Where have you been, Josefina? It's past midnight," he scowled as she entered. "Relax, Dad," she snapped. "I was at Oakwood's shelter. There was an event tonight, and I still managed to make time for your absurd dinner." "You were at, what? That homeless shelter again?" "Dad, please," she pleaded. "I'm not a child. I'm 24, and I don't need your permission to go out or date someone." "Oil and water don't mix, honey. I invited Derek's family because I want you to marry someone who will keep you happy and won't expect you to shoulder everything. Tell me you're not seeing some deadbeat." "Wow," Josefina sighed. "Dad, you know what? I don't care if I have to take care of everything. Let's just end this conversation now. Something is seriously wrong with you," she hissed before retreating to her room. From that point forward, matters deteriorated between Ben and Josefina. The following evening, Ben anxiously waited for her return, pacing in front of the living room window that overlooked the main street. Every evening, Ben watched as Josefina arrived home. However, on that particular day, she didn't return until 2 a.m. As soon as she stepped inside, Ben began interrogating her about her lateness, causing Josefina to lose her composure. She blurted out that she had been volunteering at the homeless shelter and had gone on a date with her boyfriend. "And Dad? He's the most amazing guy I've ever met. He may not have all the money in the world, but he has a heart of gold. Now, before you start telling me he's unworthy and all that, I'm too exhausted for anything. I'm going to my room." "I'm not finished talking yet," her father calmly asserted, causing her to halt in her tracks. "If you choose to stay in my house, you must abide by my rules, or you can leave." Josefina was taken aback. "You must be kidding, Dad." "No, I'm dead serious," he declared. "That's the end of it, my dear." An hour later, Josefina and her belongings were gone. Ben only realized his daughter had left when he checked on her the next morning and found a note on her bedside table explaining that she had left him forever. Ben called her numerous times, but each attempt went straight to voicemail. There were no responses to his messages either. Ben couldn't fathom that his daughter had abandoned him for another man. He couldn't even involve the authorities as she wasn't technically missing. But then a thought struck Ben. The homeless shelter, Oakwood's home. Josefina had mentioned she was volunteering there and would likely visit the shelter. Thus, the following evening, Ben parked his car a few buildings away from the homeless shelter, patiently waiting for Josefina. Around 7 o'clock, he spotted her entering the building. Ben had been waiting for his daughter for nearly 2 hours when she finally emerged from the shelter and disappeared into the adjacent street. He hesitated, fearful that she might notice his car. After a few minutes, he mustered the courage to start the engine, gripping the steering wheel tightly as he prepared to follow her. Ben sped down the street and turned into the road across from the shelter, his sole focus on not losing sight of his daughter. Unbeknownst to him, a homeless man emerged from a lateral alley and suddenly appeared in front of his car. There was a loud thud as the man's body collided with the vehicle, causing his guitar case to be flung far away. Panic gripped Ben. "No, no, Jesus!" he cried out as he rushed out of the car, only to discover the man lying unconscious and bleeding. "God, no, what have I done?" Ben was overwhelmed with fear, unable to think clearly as he resolved to rush the injured man to the hospital. He carefully carried the scruffy man to his car and drove as fast as he could. Thankfully, the dark streets were empty, and no one, including Josefina, witnessed the scene. Upon arriving at the hospital, the homeless man was swiftly taken to the operating room for surgery. Ben's heart raced, hoping for a positive outcome and the man's stabilization. Hours passed like an eternity for Ben as he anxiously awaited news outside the operating room. Finally, the door swung open and the doctors informed him that the man was okay and would soon be transferred to the general ward. "Thank you so much, Dr. Smith." Ben expressed his gratitude to his colleague. "May I go check on him?" "We'll let you know once he's settled in the general ward, my friend. Take care." Taking a deep breath, Ben covered his face with his hands before entering the man's ward. The injured individual lay on the bed, eyes closed, an IV patch is attached to his arm. Approaching the bed, Ben was about to inquire about the man's condition when he froze. Without realizing it, he found himself holding the man's arm, where an intricate tattoo caught his attention. The man opened his eyes. "What on earth is that? That tattoo?" Ben exclaimed. "Why do you have a face tattooed on your arm?" A weak smile formed on the man's lips. "That's my girlfriend and future wife, Doc," he replied. "I love her more than anything in the world. Isn't she beautiful? Your girlfriend?" Ben was taken aback, struggling to comprehend that the disheveled homeless man was his daughter's boyfriend. The shock deepened as the man revealed another startling detail about Josefina. "Thank you for saving my life and bringing me here," the man continued. "I'm Connor. You've not only saved me, but also my girlfriend and our unborn daughter. They would be devastated if anything happened to me." You don't have to bring that up," Ben uttered softly. "It was my fault. I didn't see you coming and accidentally hit you. I'm relieved that nothing terrible occurred. But this woman..." He paused, his voice filled with regret. "Don't mind me, young man, but my hair didn't turn gray overnight. Raising a family is no easy task, and you claim to love her? Does she feel the same? And you two have a daughter?" Connor grinned. "I understand what you're getting at, Doc. You're probably wondering how a scruffy man like me can support his family. Since you're my savior, I'll let you in on a little secret," he said. "I recently purchased a small house for my future wife and our child. I was once homeless, but now it's the three of us in a lovely little apartment. On my arm, you can see my girlfriend's name. Josefina. She inspires me to keep going. I'm a busker. and I make a living by playing my instruments. You know, I went hungry for days just to save up for a guitar, and I might have to dip into my savings again. I've performed in subways, streets, and anywhere else you can think of. And that's how I managed to afford the house. Not that I'm complaining, but it took hard work. I don't mind it because nothing matters more to me than my family. I even considered taking up another job, like construction or something, but, not everyone appreciates a scruffy man. Your girlfriend seems to be a lucky young lady, Ben replied, fighting back tears. I'll make it up to you for the guitar. It was my fault. I appreciate that, but honestly, I'm the lucky one, Connor said. Josefina has been through a lot. She aspired to become a musician, but her father didn't support her, and she lost her mother at a young age. She's struggling to balance her college major and her passion, so all I want to do is be there for her and make her happy. I'd say... Before Connor could finish his sentence, his phone began ringing. It was Josefina calling. Sorry, I need to take this. It's my girlfriend, he explained. Ben left Connor's room and sank into one of the waiting chairs in the corridor. Connor truly had a heart of gold, and Josefina was pregnant. Ben realized that he had been too strict with his daughter, causing her to keep the most beautiful aspects of her life hidden from him. He was going to be a grandfather. Instead of bringing happiness to his daughter, Ben had driven her away. When Josefina unexpectedly encountered him at the hospital after Connor shared what had transpired, Ben decided it was time to make amends. I know everything, my children, he said, taking Josefina and Connor's hands. Now that Connor knows I'm your father, sweetheart, I'm sorry for everything you've endured because of me. All I want is for you to be happy, and I'm willing to support both of you for as long as I can, until Connor gets back on his feet. But Josefina pulled her hand away. As I've said before, Dad, I don't need your money. I have a home, and I'm never returning to your house. Even as Ben attempted to reconcile their differences, things did not immediately improve between him and Josefina. She even refused to let him cover Connor's medical expenses until he confessed it was out of guilt. Would his daughter ever forgive him? Ben didn't have the answer, but he refused to give up so easily. A few days later, he visited Josefina and Connor, surprising them as he arrived in a truck loaded with baby items, cribs, toys, and supplies. Dad, what are you doing? Josefina asked, her irritation evident as she approached him. I don't... Josefina couldn't finish her sentence. Ben enveloped her in a tight embrace, tears streaming down his face. Please, he pleaded. I don't have a dozen daughters. As a parent and a grandfather, I want to do this. I know Connor will always keep you happy, my dear, but I don't want to fall short as a father. Dad, but I'm sorry, my dear. Please forgive your father. Time passed, and with it, change bloomed. Connor secured a job as a music teacher at a local school. He and Josefina chose to keep their love for music alive by performing as musicians at a neighborhood cafe in the evenings. Ben transformed in ways Josefina could have never imagined, apologizing,